Hello and welcome to another tutorial. My name is Caleb Bonet, also known as Zero Tep, and today we're going to be talking about probability sample generation, essentially creating sounds out of other sounds using a step divider that's found in Ableton's probability pack. I believe this is free for Live 10 standard and suite users, and we're going to be taking a look at this step divider here. A polyphonic sequencer where each step can be divided into smaller subdivisions for glitchy and chaotic results. And we're just going to be exploiting it for a couple of its main things, and we're going to be using it in tandem with Ableton's sampler and drum rack to get some sort of like weird results. So let's begin. It's best to start with a sample. So I have picked out a sample here of another song that I made at one point. It's just a beat that I made about a month ago, and I'm still working on, so this is going to be a first little preview of that. And I'm going to take just this little 8-bar section here at the end and cut that out. We want to make sure that it's in time, and it is. The tempo here is 120, and you can see all my hits are falling in line. And then we want to consolidate it. So this is so that Ableton can read it sort of as its own sample, because what we're about to do is we're about to go up here to this create and hit slice to new MIDI track. And what this does is it takes every single beat, in this case every quarter note, and chops it up into its own little samples. So every single quarter note here will become a sample in a drum rack. The slicing preset that I like to use is Zero Velocity. So it just takes every sample as it is, but it doesn't have any velocity mapping. So if you have an instrument, like I have a push, you can play it without worrying about having random velocities and louder sounds and things like that. So we're going to hit OK. And Ableton takes it and slices it up into 32 slices here. As you can see, by default, the envelope attack times and things are set to something else, so watch these because I'm going to be changing it on my push while I play and just show you. So as you can hear, it's pretty glitchy already. Ableton, this is something that's just built into Ableton so that you can make drum racks out of loops or drum beats or something like that. But we're about to sort of use it for a slightly different reason. And so we're going to come into the probability pack here, among all the packs that I have, and grab the step divider. I'll let Max start up. Here it is in all of its glory. So if you have a push, you can actually come down to the controller and select it, and it'll map automatically all of these things to the push. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here to this new part and just hit play. I'm going to turn the metronome on. So as you can see, the step sequencer is already going, and we can get a pattern going. And what I was doing earlier was clicking on these notes, and it subdivides them with shift held. And it has the ability to change the probability of the note that it plays. So we're going to actually change that really quickly here. So every now and then it'll probably go up to these other slices up here, which are other parts of the drop. They probably don't sound too different, a little bit different, considering what it's made out of. Let's just play it and kind of hear what it sounds like. Okay. So now it's triggering everything. So as you can hear, it's not always the same. Okay, so we haven't really even done anything cool with this yet. Let's change some of these divisions. Alright, and let's make some of these things a little bit more rhythmic. So right here I'm changing the rate of some of these things. So these are going to go by, instead of in eighth notes, they're going to go by a little bit faster. Same with these. I'm going to turn these up. And I'm going to turn some of these divisions up just a little bit. Make this one out of 12. Make this one out of 6. I like this. This is my kick down here on the bottom and my snare, essentially. So we're just going to kind of move some of these out of the way a little bit. Kind of keep them subdivided by 4, more or less, with like some, like a 6, multiples of 2. Just so that they don't always, you know, go nuts. And the next thing, so I mean, let's just listen to what this sounds like. It's gonna sound like a mess. Okay, an absolute mess. But one thing that we can do is we can actually come into the sampler here and clean it up a little bit. There's a tool built into the drum rack called Choke, and if you come in here and highlight them all and open up the menu, you get the ability to change them to one of 16 choke channels, and that essentially means that one sample won't play over the top of the other. The machine will actually just kind of choose one if they're playing at the same time, and you'll get really glitchy results, but it'll be cleaner that way. So let's hear what that sounds like. It's going to sound a little bit cleaner. Okay, I like that. Yeah, there's bits in here that I could use, but I think that this is actually complex enough. A little bit of chaos goes a long way when you're talking about probability. So let's maybe just like divide a couple of these up. Okay, that's already like a bit much, but I think I like where it's going. All right, so while this is playing, we can start to get some ideas out of it. So let's put in a new audio channel and let's resample this drum rack that we have here and what's playing. We can do that by changing the in and outs here, turning the in and out on, and choosing our sample and choosing to record it after the effects. Post mixer is essentially fine because our mixer is set to 0 right now, but it's best practice to choose post effects. And let's just start recording a couple of bars in, because we're just going to want these raw sounds anyway, and see what it sounds like. Okay, beautiful. I like that. It's a bit fast for me though. So let's come in here and let's turn down the rate of the sampler here to maybe a half and see what it sounds like. So you can hear the samples are coming by much slower because they're only about a quarter note long. They're coming out with a lot of silence between them. If we turn it up to a quarter, you'll kind of get a little bit less of that. So the slower we go, the more time we have in between steps. Sounds a little garbage right now, just off the bat, But one thing that we can do actually is change up these loop lengths and stuff. So you can see as I go through, all of these loop lengths are the same. But if I start to mess with these macro controls over here on the side, I can do things with them. I can offset the start time. And you can see that all of the start times for these samples will be changing. So, for example, let's come down here to slice 1 so you can get a really good idea. And you can change other things about the loop, so like the loop length and where it ends and where it crossfades. You can see with the loop length set to 0 here, the loop actually turns off, so it only plays once. But if you actually adjust the loop length, these samples will play for as long as they're held. So let's get an idea of what that sounds like and record the results. Let's adjust the clock rate on the step divider. Back to a half step. Okay. Oh, I forgot to record some of that. No matter, we'll record another one in a second here. This is sort of the crux of the probability sample generation thing here, is the ability to mess with these loop lengths and get glitchy results that aren't exactly what you would expect. So let's just kind of mess around a little bit more. I'm gonna change the metronome sound here. This is to help get an idea of the sense of rhythm, because if you play with these loop lengths, you'll actually be sort of messing with the rhythmic length of the loop in the first place. So it's best to hear that against a metronome if your end result is to just cut up these sounds as simply as possible. Okay, that's a nice number of sounds, in my opinion. You can take these little bits then and dig through them and start to arrange something. So I'll do something really simple right now. Okay, so I've arranged some samples here, just something basic, and let's play through it. So this is just kind of like a standard 8-bar loop, and if we start to do things like put a drum rack behind it, okay, so I've just got a little loop here, and we'll come back and we'll actually loop it up, and I'll throw a little bit of sidechain on it. So you've just made a tiny little bass song out of just sample glitching and things like that. If I consolidate all these down and then change it to repitch mode, interestingly enough, you can just kind of take the song anywhere you want. Take it up to 145. So there you go. I mean, you just loop up some little bits of this and it becomes honestly just like its own song in a way. It can be as complex or simple as you want. So after that small demo, I wanted to show you the project where I came up with the idea to do this sequencer glitching. This was actually just an exercise that I did on one day. I just wanted to try out that technique, and it ended up being so successful that I edited an entire song out of it. It's really interesting because the source samples that I used for this, which you can see here on this track, actually come from the song Devilman by Saruda, and not even the whole song, just 16 bars of it. Let me just show you a little bit of what that sounds like. A lot of destruction. So I took some of these sounds and I edited them down, and I think this is a lot more successful than the demo that I originally did for this video. So I'm going to show you just a little part of it. And this started out as a remix of Devilman, though I don't think many of the sounds are even recognizable unless you know the song pretty intimately well. And then I took some of my friends rapping, these guys named Sat Boys. Shout out to them down in Colorado and all over the world. And I just took their song and I put it over the top of it. So I wanted to show you just this little portion because I think it shows you what you can do with these sounds a little bit better.
They said I never go to space, but I'm already there. Catch me in the shuttle, smoking Mentos in the chair. A comfy chair, I got a comfy chair. I go anywhere, sad boys be everywhere. Sad boys be everywhere.
My sap game stupid, but my space game dumb. In my chair, my comfy chair, watch you turn around and run. Rolex on my wrist, space is where I got it. Fuck your bitch 3 times, too short, hop it. Space soda my kitchen, y'all fools need to listen. Earth look nice from Pluto, you earthbound can't get in. I'm just always on the grind, on the moon cannot keep time. You want Earth so you just whine, smoking Mars kush so I'm fine.
They said I'd never go to space, but I'm
Yeah, so as you can see, it's a lot more active than the demo that I recorded for that. And there's these sections right here where I've actually like re-looped the sound. You can see like this, the Ableton title implies that I've re-edited it. So it's got kind of a groove to it. With the drum rack. And down here on the audio track itself, I've done a fair amount of processing. Waves X click to help keep it from glitching out. And then after that, I'm doing a lot of processing to the sound. So trash, a little bit of overdrive, not very heavy, but enough to just give it some crunch. Same with this pedal, not very heavy, enough to give it a little bit extra crunch. Makes the sounds come together really nicely. So it's a pretty wild way of resampling other people's music or your own music to make some crazy songs. But it definitely sounds impressive to my ears. There you go. That is probability sample generation using Max for Live and the step divider provided by Ableton, and some drum rack and sample splicing. If you liked that tutorial, you can find other videos on my channel, and you can follow me on Twitter, SoundCloud, and find me at Subviolet Records, my own label. That's subviolet.com. Thank you all for listening. My name is Kalen, and I'll see you next time.